Oh, welcome everyone to episode 138 of the Chris Parrish podcast titled Summer Skull. Pains me to say Summer Skull because that's a Minnesota Vikings term and I do not like the Minnesota Vikings. But Summer Skull works. Sounds like summer school. We're a week away from SummerSlam. I do want to let everybody know we are having a little bit of trouble on the Chris Parrish kick. It will be fixed shortly, so don't you worry. We will take care of that. But welcome, everyone, to the Chris Parrish podcast, episode 138. But first things first, let's have some fun with the housekeeping. Let's give a big shout out to Turnbuckle Studios, the home partnership with the Chris Parrish podcast. That is what we do. We got shows every day of the week. And all you have to do is go to turnbucklestudios.org to find out everything you want about Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, which, by the way, we've made it easier on turnbucklestudios.org. On the main page, all you have to do is hit the icons of Kick, Facebook, or Twitch, and YouTube, and it takes you right to the links directly. Easy. So that's all you have to do. And then, of course, go to w.gg, and if you want to use the promo code Parrish10, you get to save yourself 10% off on your order. And you know what? It's great. It's absolutely amazing. Why wouldn't you want to do it? Why wouldn't you want to check out W? All amazing drinks, all organic drinks. They taste good. You'll love them. W.gg. That's where you have to go. Hit promo code Parrish10. And if you want to say, you know what, I want to support Turnbuckle Studios, then hit TB Studios. And you'll also save that 10%. It's very easy. And we make it very easy. 2 different ways to save 10% off at checkout. Why wouldn't you want to do that? And then our good old friends, Beercade YEG, located on 10544 82nd Ave in the Edmonton area. Hopefully it's not getting damaged by the thunder that we saw last night, but they are the home of next week's SummerSlam night 1 and 2. You'll be seeing me on one of those nights. So if you want to go there and enjoy every aspect of their establishment, whether it's the food, whether it's the arcade games, whether it's the free wrestling show, Beercade YEG is the place to be. So grateful to be working with Beercade YEG. We said SummerSlam is next week, and it's going to be a fun one. We already have 12 matches announced. We know we're going to get at least 1, possibly 2 more, but we should just get into it because it's 7 days out. I like to kind of go over the show. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about some of the matches there. Let's talk about the last one that we know that was added, and that is the Men's United States Championship match, which I think surprised a lot of people. It surprised me that it's a singles match. It definitely was looking like it could at least involve 3, but it is Trick Williams who issued the challenge to Baron Corbin. Very strange that Baron Corbin comes back into the company, gets a championship match at SummerSlam, but that's what's going on. That is what's happening. So what are your thoughts about Baron Corbin not only just coming back to WWE, which, hey, I'm all for, but it's almost like he's jumping the line. It's like, why isn't Carmelo Hayes getting an opportunity to go after the United States Championship? We all want Carmelo versus Trick, right? We all want to watch that match. So why aren't we getting that match? So I think the big question remains, is WWE going to do anything about this? Are we going to see a third person at it? And if that's the case, then I'm all for it. I'm all for WWE making a triple threat match. But until then, we are sitting at a singles match. Sorry, I'm trying to get a couple things reworking here. And I think it's going to be a fun match. I think it's going to be a good match. I'm curious to see kind of the new aggression out of Baron Corbin. He did seem to have a newfound intensity when he came back and attacked both Carmelo Hayes and Baron Corbin. I do hope that maybe on SmackDown we get a match between Baron Corbin and Carmelo Hayes. And if Carmelo Hayes wins, he's added to the match. If Baron Corbin wins, he then has more of a momentum burst going into SummerSlam. And, well, we get some content on Friday. But it's hard not to pick Baron Corbin to win this match, right? We are talking about Baron Corbin, who's less than a month back in WWE and already fighting for a championship at the second biggest PLE of the year. So why not go full swing and have him become champion? It just makes sense, right? So I think that is something we could do. And I don't think that there's really anything bad about it. I do think the one thing about Trick Williams' title reign that I think is feeling a little off is that when he's with Little Yachty, it doesn't feel like this is the fan favorite group. I do still think that pairing was meant to be a heel tandem. Obviously, it was the fans' popularity that chose Trick Williams, and that's all well and good. But I think something has to give with the pairing of Little Yachty and Trick because they just aren't coming off in a way that's making Trick look like a bona fide number one babyface on a roster, which I think he has a trajectory of doing. So I think it's just stagnating and stopping his growth a little bit. So I have Baron Corbin winning this match. I have Trick Williams then potentially either going and facing an opportunity Money in the Bank, which is later on in the year, or even going into a feud with somebody who is more considered a main event guy, whether it's even Finn Balor, whether it's Cody Rhodes, maybe CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, if one of those two returned. So that is where I'm kind of going. But Baron Corbin, I think, is a fresh look into the U.S. title picture. He then can work with, the Carmelo Hayes, the Matt Cardonas, Ilya Dragunov. I think who doesn't want to see Dragunov versus Corbin? That could be a lot of fun, and it just revitalizes that U.S. title picture. And I think it's kind of needed at this point. Trick had a good run going from WrestleMania to SummerSlam. A lot of people get that run as a good start out run. So I would say that's pretty solid. Also on Friday, we saw a 6-woman tag match announced. That is Paige, Brie Bella, with the returning Nikki Bella challenging all 3 members of Fatal Influence and Laney Reed, Fallon Henley, and Jacy Jayne. Jacy Jayne obviously lost her qualifying opportunity to Tiffany Stratton for the women's 5-way ladder match that we'll talk to about later. And we all know that Brie Bella and Paige lost the women's tag team titles to Reed and Henley at Saturday night's main event in Madison Square Garden. So this is kind of where everything is kind of shaping up to be. I do think this was something that was obvious. We were going to eventually see the Bellas go after the tag team titles. And then we have Paige and Jacy Jayne potentially as a feud that I think could help escalate JC Jane into the next way. Chris Bass coming in saying, I got a feeling we'll see the Bellas turn on Paige, which we could, but I just think we're going to see the Bellas get a babyface run into the tag team championships at some point. I won't be surprised if that does happen, but I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if we get it as early as SummerSlam. I'm not sure why you would do it right away. Unless your whole idea is to start a Paige and maybe an AJ Lee versus Bellas. But then with the tag team titles now being on heels, Bellas versus Fatal Influence could be something that could help Fallon Henley and Lena Reed get a little bit more established on the main roster. Especially Lena Reed, who I think we all kind of peg as the third ranked member of Fatal Influence. I mean, she was the replacement for Jasmine Nix, but she's also not perceived to be the full package of JC Jane or even near the in-ring capability of Fallon Henley, even though I do think we see a lot of potential in Lena Reed. I just see that being in the ring with as many veterans as possible can benefit her. I don't really think there's going to be a lot to this match. I think there's so much more in the women's division that's uncertain right now that could be a reason why we get a standalone 6-woman tag or something with a moment. I don't think a turn is out of the question, but I don't think it's needed right now unless we get Fatal Influence completely dominating. If Fatal Influence completely dominates in this, then I could see something like that. Another match that I'm not really sold on, but it's official for SummerSlam. It's Dominic Mysterio versus Danhausen. And I say I'm not sold on this, not because I don't want to see Dominic Mysterio or Danhausen. I just think you could have made this a tag match. You could have made Danhausen and Joe Hendry versus Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough. I'm not a fan of JD McDonough, always getting sidelined when it's clear that the best form of main roster usage right now is to use JD and Dom as a tag team. I think you're just holding them both back by not committing to them as a duo. And with this whole tag team division needing some more faces, it just makes the most sense. Danhausen and Joe Hendry, they don't have to be a tag team, but they could be for this night. So, I don't know. The fact that you just leave Joe Hendry and JD McDonough off, I think was kind of silly. You have more than enough singles matches that you could have added a tag team match here. I mean, let's be honest. You really don't have a standalone 2 versus 2 tag team match yet on SummerSlam. And that's quite concerning in my eyes. But nonetheless, I don't see Dominic Mysterio winning this match. I really see the shenanigans. And I do think the shenanigans involve Joe Hendry and JD McDonough. And because of that, Joe Hendry most likely will cost Dominic Mysterio the match. And we further go with Joe Hendry versus Dominic Mysterio. And Danhausen gets a moment at SummerSlam, and we're off to the races. I don't understand why Danhausen has to be undefeated in the ring, though. But nonetheless, I do think he's going to stay undefeated and get a win over Dominic Mysterio. I just don't understand why. But that's just me more wanting something for Dominic Mysterio. I do look at him with a high ceiling in WWE, and I just don't like this current holding pattern on him. I feel there was a lot more obvious direction for him, as I earlier said. The tag team with JD. I think that could have been a fun tag team. I think it can be a fun tag team. It makes a lot of sense for them to go after the tag team championships. Staying on the Friday night, we got a lot of matches on Friday night, and another one of those was a number one contenders match for the Undisputed Championship. Sami Zayn, who has yet to get his rematch for the title, by the way, which I'm not understanding why he can't get a rematch when everyone else does, but that's beside the point. He faces Finn Balor, who won a fatal four-way match to determine Sami's opponent at SummerSlam in that number one contendership. And this is the match where I kind of see both sides. I understand if they want Sami Zayn to go over and be continued in this, I guess, dramatic title picture. But then you have Finn Balor, who represents a fresh look. And Damian Priest said it to Cody, saying, I respect you, I respect Punk, but the boys, we want to see somebody new. And Finn Balor, even though he is a former and was the inaugural champion of the universe, the Universal Champion, I just wanted to say it that way, he doesn't really feel like he's a main event guy in WWE, and he's always going to be considered a little fresh to the scene. And it would make sense because I heard the whole reason of moving him to SmackDown is so the company would get behind him and he would be, getting a good, successful singles run. And that's kind of what we've been seeing so far on SmackDown. So I see Finn Balor could win, but I just have a feeling we're going to see Johnny Gargano help Sami Zayn win here. It's been already put out by Punk in a backstage segment with Candice LeRae that Punk's admitted that whatever is going on between Candice and Johnny, it's not working. Get back in the ring. Want Johnny wrestling back, want Candice LeRae as the wrestler back. Made me think, okay, maybe it's just taking a moment like this to really make a scene with Johnny Gargano. Obviously, Sami Zayn and Johnny Gargano could be aligned. I really could see Kevin Owens when he comes back joining that in a weird way, and we're off to the races with that faction because it did look like the Motor City Machine Guns, and Johnny Gargano could have been involved in something. I think that's just going to be replaced by Sami Zayn and then Kevin Owens when he does come back. So I'm officially going to pick Sami Zayn to win, and I think that's a match where, again, I don't see much other than Sami Zayn versus Undisputed Champion at Money in the Bank. I think that's kind of the direction you go here. But before we get to the next match, we're going to let everybody know that we talked earlier about turnbucklestudios.org, the official webpage of Turnbuckle Studios. And there's been a lot of things on there. We mentioned earlier that on the main page, you can now hit direct links to the main platforms that Turnbuckle Studios goes on, with it. It's YouTube, the Kick, or the Twitch. All you have to do, click on the button. Just like if you hit the click of the button, you can easily check out everything else going on, like the shop. So if you want to help out Turnbuckle Studios and support us through merchandise, please go and check out our shop powered by Redbubble. You got a lot of options, whether it's shirts, whether it's hats, whether it's hoodies, but you can also get other products like phone covers, pillowcases, All you have to do is go and check out to see what is available. And again, if you want to purchase something from your favorite show, let us know. Send us a picture when you receive that, and we'll give you a thank you on air, and maybe, just maybe, we'll use that photo in our next promotional video. So check this out, and we'll get right back to the Summer Slam predictions.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
And it's right there. If you want to get anything that supports the Chris Burke podcast, I will not only give you the things, but I will definitely show that photo live on screen as well. So I will do more. I will gladly shout you out, because if you support me, I will always support you back. That's just how I operate. A match that I'm very, very intrigued with here on SummerSlam is a match that really was a filler, and that is the 6-man match between Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Royce Keys, taking on Jacob Fatu, Jimmy, and Jay, the Usos. And I know we can all say, hey, I kind of would like something different from all of these components. And I think that's a very fair and a very honest, valid approach, because I do think it's time for LA Knight to jumpstart into a title match, whether it's an intercontinental or a heavyweight championship match. I would like to see something for Solo now that he has turned babyface, which is very refreshing. It would be nice to see him somewhere that's not just bloodline related. And of course, Royce Keys, I think for right now, we're very happy that he's in the SummerSlam plans. And let's be honest, it's a very important angle that's going on. The bloodline angle is something that takes a lot of TV time on Raw and SmackDown. So the fact that Royce Keys is involved in this means that the company sees Royce Keys as a main part of their show. So I like that for Royce Keys. And of course, we understand the importance of Jimmy and Jay, the Usos, one, if not arguably, the greatest tag team in WWE's history. But you got a former world champion in Jey Uso. He's a former Royal Rumble winner. And then you have Jacob Fatu, who has wrestled for the World Heavyweight title on multiple occasions this year. So this is a highly combustible match. If it doesn't end with LA Knight pinning Jey Uso, I do not understand the point of this match. We all know that these are the two men that have kind of circled around each other and have yet to really do anything against each other. So I do think that it's time for Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso to take each other out, as we've seen that in the past. They've kind of had that little riff, just like Jacob Fatu, Royce Keys. They have that rift. So I do think that they will take each other out individually. That leaves Jey Uso and LA Knight. And I think this is going to be the telling point of the next few months. Whoever wins in this match between these two, I think that's where we're going to see the company go. Whether it's Jey Uso, if he gets the win here, I think the company is going to be heavy on Jey Uso. But if LA Knight wins, I do think we are seeing the potential of somebody who could not just win the Money in the Bank, but could very well be a leading candidate for the Royal Rumble. And when before you want to say it, it's like, well, the Royal Rumble, I don't know. That's a big one. I was there when Jey Uso won a Royal Rumble. Believe me, everyone was stunned, but it was so refreshing to see somebody that wasn't your top 4 or 5 betting odd guy to win. The idea of Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble made watching a Royal Rumble that much more unpredictable, and I was here for it, especially when it was John Cena's last Rumble, and that's who he had to throw out to win. It made everything better. Imagine if LA Knight throws a Seth Rollins or a Randy Orton or a Cody Rhodes or even a Gunther out of the ring to win a Royal Rumble. It makes him just look that good. And I could see it. I really can see it. So I'm picking LA Knight to pin Jey Uso here. I think the fans have outspokenly enough said we want LA Knight. I think it's time to see what the megastar is capable of. He talks the talk, he gets the pop, but let's see what he does when he gets to the top. I have Jey Uso falling victim to LA Knight in this 6-man match. I think the next match is one that I'm very, very much looking forward to. And there's a lot. There is a lot to look forward to. But we get, for the first time ever, the very first match in WWE from Nick Aldis. For the first time, we heard from another competitor on Friday that you are a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And just using that gave credit to the accomplishment of Nick Aldis. Now, he is a former TNA Impact Heavyweight Champion as well. So let's not discount that. He is someone that has held multiple world titles in other promotions. But I think it's fair to say it doesn't matter in the WWE world. What you do outside of it, you get more and more value of what you do when you're inside WWE. That's just how it works. So I want to see what Nick Aldis is capable of. I want to see how he operates. It's been 3 years since his last wrestling match. I'm very curious to see how he goes. He's up against somebody who is going to test him badly. Hard hitting. Very good in the stamina area. Also, by the way, Gunther is just one of the best technical guys in WWE and all of wrestling. But he doesn't have to rely on technical ability when he chops the way he does and when he throws strikes the way he does. So we're going to see this sympathy card play because Gunther is going to beat up Nick Aldis. We are going to see what Nick Aldis has in his tank, has in his fight ability. Can he weather a storm against Gunther? Does he have it in him still after 3 years? Not to mention, it's going to be just a hell of a moment to see Nick Aldis in a ring. And kudos to the ring general Gunther for taking this on because it's going to be a great match. I'm going to look forward to it, and I do hope it's a clean wrestling match, and I hope we get an actual winner. Not from a disqualification, not from a countout, no shenanigans, just straight up winner. Now, can you go about it in like a fight standpoint? Sure. Look no further than Triple H, Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam, the unsanctioned match. Just because it's unsanctioned didn't mean we couldn't get a straight up 1 versus 1 and a legit winner. Give me Nick Aldis to score the upset and give me Gunther to beat him up after. Or do the obvious. Have Gunther tap out Nick Aldis and just give Nick Aldis a moment. Either one goes, but do these two men justice and give them the time to tell a proper story, and I'm sold right off the bat. Now, who do I have? I have Gunther. I think Gunther needs the win here. I don't think Nick Aldis, I don't think a win or a loss really dictates anything. Even if he is to continue as an in-ring competitor, he can still lose. It's been 3 years since his last match. It's understandable. And he went up against one of the very best. So I don't think there's any fault for Nick Aldis losing. And I don't see him wrestling for a championship in 2026. So give me the ring. General Gunther. Because in a weird way, I kind of want to see Gunther and Finn Balor come through our screens at some point as well. The next match we have, I think, has all the ingredients to steal the show at SummerSlam. It's for the Intercontinental Championship. It's the champion Penta taking on Chad Gable. And Chad Gable got this by winning a gauntlet match, lastly defeating All Ego Ethan Page. We all know Chad Gable was El Grande Americano, lost the mask versus mask match at AAA, one of the best mask versus mask match we'll probably ever see. But the story, the emotion, the investment we all had watching that, and then watching him pour his heart out. We already saw him pour his blood out, but now he was pouring his heart out after doing the right thing, apologizing after, earning his way back into the fold. And ironically enough, the same man who caused him to spiral out of control because he couldn't beat him, to force him into becoming El Grande Americano, he now has to face to do the one thing he has never done in WWE, win a singles title in his hometown of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The story couldn't write itself any better for Chad Gable. And that's why I think it's a guarantee that Chad Gable becomes your new Intercontinental Champion. And if he doesn't, just release the guy. It would be an utter joke if Chad Gable is not Intercontinental Champion by SummerSlam's end. Penta, I thought, has done a fantastic job as Intercontinental Champion, and even that Call Your Shot multi-man ladder match. And let's just say, still winning. That was a badass move. But now Chad Gable is ready, willing, and able to take that mantle from Penta, and I think it's the right time. Penta can go on and face a main event caliber talent like a Roman Reigns after this, Seth Rollins after this, Braun Breaker after this. He could go on to Money in the Bank. His trajectory is now upwards. Chad Gable's trajectory should be Intercontinental Championship. And if it's not, I'm sorry, but I would have lost faith in WWE for Chad Gable. I really would. Because again, the story could not have been written any better for Chad Gable to become Intercontinental Champion here. So I'm going with Chad Gable. And I do think it's by pinfall. I don't see a point where you need to tap Penta out here. I understand why you do because it's the emphatic, but I think this is the time where Chad Gable, just from a pure standpoint, just completely shows why he has earned that match. So give me Chad Gable as your new Intercontinental Champion, and I have all the time in the world for that. Because once again, if Chad Gable does win, then please help me. And one of the best ways of doing that, going to Turnbuckle Studios. So yeah, if you think you can help me, check this out.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
Next up, we get to the nitty gritty of SummerSlam. We get to what I think is really the focal point. The main championships, we got 4 world titles, and then we have a Hell in a Cell. Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar inside Hell in a Cell. The trilogy to their story, I think, is fantastic. The story started off at WrestleMania when the two started off, and Brock Lesnar got absolutely destroyed. Then we saw the rematch. It was a little bit longer of a fight. It was 7 F5s that finally got Oba Femi to stay down for the 3 count. Oba Femi then confusingly won King of the Ring and foregone his chance to compete for a title just so he can finish the chapter that is Brock Lesnar. Yeah, it made no sense. It was actually pretty silly for him to be just in this tournament. It was obvious that if he was in it, he was going to win it. But the single fact that he did that and then said, hey, yeah, that ultimate prize I got, I don't want it. It was pretty stupid. But on the flip side, Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar inside Hell in a Cell, we all want to watch that. Don't kid yourself. Come on. Biggie said it best. 2 meaty men slapping meat. How do you not want to watch that? Can Hell in a Cell keep them inside that? I don't know. All I know is that I fear for Hell in a Cell structure. I think they're the ones that I think the structure itself is going to be the most sympathetic in that match because it's going to get beat up just as much as anybody else. But again, how do you not go Oba Femi here? You know, it was reported that Brock Lesnar could, in fact, retire at SummerSlam in his home state of Minnesota. We saw the heavy emotional Brock Lesnar after the match at WrestleMania, and it looked like he was retiring. Only for that to kind of also be foregone, and he came back, had the one more match. So this very well could be Brock Lesnar's final match. But it remains to be seen. So we have to see what does happen in Minnesota at SummerSlam. But don't fool me. We all know Oba Femi is going to win this story, and then he is going to go on and probably dominate the Royal Rumble. Because how do we not get Roman Reigns versus Oba Femi at WrestleMania 43? I would be shocked if that is not the idea of the main event match at WrestleMania 43. So yeah, give me Obafemi. But I think it's going to be one hell of a holy you know what match. And then we go to a ladder match, a 5-woman ladder match. It's crazy what just a few months can do. And we all know that Rhea Ripley defeated Jade Cargill for the women's world title, or the WWE women's title, sorry. And she tore her meniscus, can't compete, is not able to. An interim championship is being created, which means a couple things. One, the injury is not going to keep Rhea Ripley out that much longer, but at least long enough to miss SummerSlam. At least for now. So we know a few competitors. We know Jade Cargill, who defeated Nia Jax based off disqualification, just like Charlotte Flair beat Nia Jax based on disqualification. We've seen Tiffany Stratton defeat JC Jane, which a lot of people were not happy with. Actually, sorry, no, Kiana James was, and then, yeah, Chelsea Green defeated Kiana James on SmackDown. So it'll be very intriguing just to see kind of the next competitor, which we will find out on SmackDown next week, as Julia will face Lash Legend for that final spot. So one of those 6 will walk out of SummerSlam as the next interim women's champion. And I think the consensus is Jade Charlotte will be one of those winners. I don't see why you wouldn't go straight back to Jade Cargill here. But if you were going to try something new, I mean, you can go and make Tiffany Stratton the hometown girl a big deal. You could shock the world and go with Chelsea Green. But a world title reign for Julia. Imagine if she not only gets past Lash Legend on SmackDown, but somehow finds herself grabbing that title and becoming the interim women's champion. I think I'm down for that. Because I don't think we need Jade Cargill and Charlotte to really be the focal point of this ladder match. In fact, I think we would have preferred them to just to have a match at SummerSlam. In fact, it would have been nice if they just made that match for the interim championship, and then the winner will face Rhea Ripley when she comes back. I think that was obvious, but I think if you want to kind of really shock the fans, I think Julia coming out of SummerSlam her coming out of SummerSlam as champion, as interim champion, would really make a lot of people say, okay, I see what you're doing, and I like it. I'm here for it. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say Julia, even though my original pick was Jade Cargill. I'm switching it and going with Julia to walk out of SummerSlam as your next interim WWE Women's Champion. And this takes us now to our first Men's World Championship. And I'm going to go with what I believe is going to be the main event for night 1, and that is CM Punk defending the undisputed championship against the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. And I do think we are going to get tomfoolery in this match. I think one of these two are turning on the other. I would be happier if it's Cody Rhodes. But also, if you noticed, we saw a hand sign from Cody on SmackDown. And the reason why that is intriguing is if you see what The Rock has done over the last few years, he has held the 1 for Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. He has done the 2 for John Cena. And then he also has put up the 3. So could Rock be the reason why Cody Rhodes turns heel? He was the reason why John Cena turned heel, and he originally wanted Cody Rhodes to begin with. Could Rock been the 1, Roman Reigns 2, John Cena 3, Cody Rhodes 4? Could very well be something. Or that's just a theory, and we're seeing something completely different unfold at SummerSlam. I think that's going to be very intriguing as well. But I still think we're either going to get 1 and 2 scenarios here. We're either going to get CM Punk defeating Cody Rhodes, and then Cody Rhodes attacks CM Punk after, and we continue this past SummerSlam, or we see something so definitive that a Cody Rhodes heel turn is why he walks out as a 4-time champion, which is why he said he put up the 4. But could that have a different meaning as well? Because let's not forget, Cody Rhodes, one of his closest friends is Arn Anderson. Just I found an original member of the Four Horsemen. You know, there's a lot to unpackage and unravel with that. So I'm going to say CM Punk walks out of SummerSlam as champion, but I think the landscape of SmackDown is going to change. And before we get to the final 2 matches, I'm going to quickly show everybody just the landscape of Turnbuckle Studios with our weekly calendar.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday night, we are on call as the Raw Patrol is on duty at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday, we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursdays, let us power your dreams with the Xbox Showcase at 9 p.m. Friday, we invite you to come for a ride with the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later in the day, the Locker Room presents Wrestling Recap delivers at 7 p.m. Always be aware that weekend shows can vary in times, as the PLE Patrol and other watch party streams are always a must-see. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day and watch all of the latest episodes on turnbucklestudios.org/shows. And please do not forget to drop a like, follow, and to subscribe to all of our channels, and when the time is right, all you have to do is tap in.
So this leads us now to the last 2 matches of SummerSlam, and let's start off with the Women's World title. Liv Morgan takes on Io Sky, your 2026 Queen of the Ring, who ironically enough defeated Liv Morgan for that crown. I don't understand why Liv Morgan has only defended this title one time, and that's going to be at SummerSlam next week, since winning it at WrestleMania. To me, it makes zero sense. It's made me really not care and not be invested in her championship, and even to a point her, which is very unsettling because I think she is one of the top draws of WWE in the women's division, and the single fact that the inactivity of that title is what it is, it's pathetic. It is. Like, I'm sorry, but you had multiple opportunities, and I understand that there are situations that maybe prolonged this. I get it, but at some point you got to adapt and you got to say, okay, we got to pivot and make these changes. And don't say that, oh, well, we did it, but WrestleMania was in April. We're going into August. 0 title defenses. It's unacceptable. It's just flat out unacceptable. So the best thing to do in this case is by giving us a new champion. Not just a new champion, but how refreshing would it be if Io Sky not only wins this title, say, on night one of SummerSlam, but then on Monday, we see the rematch with Liv Morgan and Io Sky for that title. And just 48 hours after winning it, Io Sky's already defending it, matching Liv Morgan's title defenses. So I think that would be something that I would see. And then think about this. On Raw, you would have Stephanie Victor costing Liv Morgan that opportunity for the championship, and boom, you're off to the races, back in that title match, or in that feud, Liv and Stephanie. You don't need the title, and now we have multiple women angles on Raw, and I think that's just a better case of resources. So give me that. Give me Io Sky becoming your new women's world champion, and I am totally down for that. And before we get to the main event of show, I do want to let everybody know that what we'd like to do is let everybody know what next week does entail. And next week, we are looking towards Money in the Bank, and we're going past SummerSlam with Climb to Fame. That's right. The whole idea of Money in the Bank is you got to go rung by rung, and you got to climb to the top. If you want to be famous, you got to work and you got to make that step up. So next week we are getting Climb to Fame with episode 139 of the Chris Parrish podcast. So the main event of SummerSlam Night 2, let's not kid ourselves. We know it's going to be Roman Reigns defending the World Heavyweight title against Seth Rollins. And the big question is, what are we going to see here? Are we going to get all the Shield references? Are we going to get more than just a Shield reference at SummerSlam? Are we going to see Roman Reigns finally defeat Seth Rollins? Are we going to see Seth Rollins continuously become the kryptonite to Roman Reigns? I'm very intrigued in this match simply because there's been enough time since their last match for this to feel fresh again. Seth Rollins says this could very well be the last time they have this match. I don't think that's the case, but what I do think we're going to see is something big. I don't know what that is going to entail, but I'm here for it. I cannot wait to see what magic these two bring, and I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and I'm already going to go and put it out there and say this match is going to be in the same conversation as CM Punk versus Roman Reigns from WrestleMania. And if that's the case, I cannot wait. I do have Roman Reigns, however, walking out still champion. My only intrigue as to how that happens. If it's the last time they do have this match, then yes, I want it to be completely clean. I want this to be completely one-on-one. But it's Roman Reigns in a championship match. Who and why does the words clean even come out of my mouth? When has Roman Reigns really ever kept a title cleanly? So, with that being said, give me all the shenanigans and give me all the tomfoolery. And everyone, that is your 12-match SummerSlam card, and it's going to be very intriguing, and I cannot wait. If I was to add a couple matches, it's very clear. I would add a tag team title match, whether it's the Vision versus Street Profits or Vision versus Tozawa and Otis, even though we get that tomorrow on Raw, or give me a triple threat. Give me the War Raiders versus Damian Priest and R-Truth for those tag titles. I'm all for adding one of those matches. But hey, we're getting a women's Intercontinental title match on Raw tomorrow with Raquel Rodriguez and Sol Ruca. Why couldn't we get a women's Intercontinental title match at SummerSlam? I do not know. But that's going to do it for episode 138 of the Chris Bear podcast titled Summer SKOL. I do want to thank everyone for being a part of the show, taking the time, and I say thank you. Until next week, I say be happy, be healthy, but more importantly, be yourself, because at the end of the day, you matter.
Rip through the clouds, faster, catch us from falling close to the ground. Perish or try to fight.